Hello, I'm Paola Ranova, and today we're going to talk about unconditional love, knowledge, and spirituality. So, what I want to bring to you is the understanding that unconditional love is the source of life, it's the source of all things. It's from unconditional love that everything that exists emanates, including knowledge and including spirituality. So, unconditional love connects us all to life. It is the source of life, right? And one of its emanations is knowledge. Another one of its emanations is spirituality. So, knowledge is an expansion of unconditional love, which allows us to understand existence. But when knowledge disconnects from the source of unconditional love, and I know this sounds weird, but when spirituality disconnects from its source, which is unconditional love, they become meaningless. So when we talk about knowledge, knowledge is useful and should be at the service of life and at the service of unconditional love. Whenever knowledge disassociates itself, disconnects from the source of unconditional love, it can cause pain. It can become meaningless. It can create nihilistic experiences. Whenever knowledge is hijacked by materialism, for example, it just loses its soul. So we have to be very mindful of the kind of knowledge that we're creating. Does it serve the highest good? Is it going to bring happiness and joy to the world? Is it useful knowledge? Is it at the service of unconditional love, or is it not? Reason, rationality, the intellectual mind are designed to be an emanation of unconditional love. It's just an expression of unconditional love, as is the world of matter, right? Matter should not be demonized as the opposite of spirit. Matter is just spirit in a dense manifestation. So it's an emanation of spirit. It's an emanation of unconditional love. Everything is unconditional love, except what is called in a lot of traditions, consciousness of separation. So disassociating knowledge from the source of unconditional love, which is the origin of all life, and when knowledge is not at the service of the highest good, of happiness, joy, and unconditional love, it really doesn't do much for the world. And we may fall prey and develop consciousness of separation with our knowledge, with our rational minds, with our intellectual minds, with our scientific minds. Whenever we fall prey to, for example, superiority, this illusion of superiority to other people. I know more than so-and-so. Yeah, but so-and-so contributes to the world in a different way, and so-and-so may be more connected to unconditional love, and probably is, than you, whenever you feel superior to someone else because of your intellectual abilities. So our egos will create separation, will create this divorce between your life and unconditional love. And knowledge as a field of energy can do that too. And our culture tends to actually stimulate that in a lot of people. When science is hijacked by materialism, it's disassociating itself from unconditional love. And when people develop a scientific mind and an intellectual mind for reasons, when with goals that are not connected to unconditional love for all beings, that person is probably suffering and is probably causing suffering in the world for others as well. So knowledge and science are emanations of unconditional love, and they may be disassociated from that source and creating havoc and creating suffering. So whenever you reconnect to this unconditional love source, your life makes sense. Your life has purpose. And your rational mind, your intellectual brilliancy, your scientific abilities serve a higher purpose. Is that making sense? I hope it is. So it's important for us to always put our intellectual minds at the service of unconditional love. And when it comes to spirituality, and this may seem weird or counterintuitive, but spirituality is not the ultimate goal of life. It is a means to an end, which is unconditional love. So the source of life and the goal of life is unconditional love. We go back to where we came from, which is the higher light of unconditional love. So spirituality is a vehicle that allows you to transcend materialism and to reconnect to the source of love. However, many of us may live a spiritual life that is disconnected or disassociated from unconditional love. Whenever we judge others, we think we're spiritually superior. We diminish other people for not being spiritual. So the disdain for materialistic minds, that is pulling you out of the unconditional love source. Whenever you make a judgment, you're creating this consciousness of separation and living in that consciousness of separation. So is it possible for spirituality to be disassociated from unconditional love? Unfortunately, yes, it is, just like knowledge. So spirituality is not the ultimate goal of anything. It is a vehicle, it is an instrument, it is a path for you to reach your goal, which is to go back to unconditional love, if that's what you want, right? But unconditional love is not, people say it's not easy, it's difficult. Maybe it is. It's simple, but it's not easy because we have been so conditioned in our culture to engage in consciousness of separation, to judge others, to not love, to discard our hearts, and to think we are superior to other people because of our intellect or because of our spirituality, that it can create a lot of difficulties for us to just go back to unconditional love and go back to the heart. But spiritual people cannot allow themselves the luxury of thinking they're superior because they're spiritual. Is that making sense? And unfortunately, yes, it is possible for someone to be spiritual and not a loving person. To believe in God and to understand transcendence is not the same thing as living in unconditional love. And some people can be atheists and be in unconditional love for humankind. You don't need a God figure for the unconditional love vibration to permeate your life, right? So what I believe should be our goal in this life is to go back to unconditional love and stay there. So maintaining that vibration of love for self, for others, for humanity. And unconditional love goes hand in hand with the truth. Truth is also an emanation of unconditional love. It is the essence of unconditional love as well, right? All is love and love is truth. So whenever you say the truth to someone, that is an act of unconditional love. A lot of people are not willing to say the truth to others because they're afraid they will hurt feelings, or it's just not worth it, or let me keep myself in this pedestal of spirituality and who so and so will find their own path. Reach out to people in unconditional love and help them if they're willing, if they ask for it. And don't judge others in your spirituality. If you do that, you're acting in a superiority vibration. And that creates consciousness of separation, as I said. So what we want to do is create life connection, is create bonds that are healthy, right? Because ultimately we are all connected. Separation is an illusion of limiting beliefs. And whenever we feel any kind of pleasure, feeling superior in our intellectual minds or feeling superior in our spiritual lives, that is an illusion, that is temporary, and that is ultimately going to lead to suffering. No one feels good in separation. And every human being in the planet feels relieved when they go back to connection, when they go back to harmonizing their relationships, when they go back to unconditional love. So this is something that I believe really helps people organize their understanding. Unconditional love is the source of life. It's where we all came from and where we're all going back to. It emanates and it unfolds in infinite possibilities and infinite types of existence. One of the consequences of the existence of unconditional love is knowledge. One of the unfoldings of unconditional love is spirituality. They are just emanations of unconditional love, as is the physical world. Everything we see, touch, feel, smell, taste is just a manifestation of the ultimate source of reality, which is unconditional love. The ultimate source of reality is not knowledge and it's not spirituality. It is unconditional love. And unconditional love is wise. It is pure. It is in a high vibrational frequency. It is the source of life. It is not naive love. It is not attachment. Love is not just what romantic stories will tell us. It's way beyond that. Love is the source of knowledge. Love is the source of spirituality, right? So it is way deeper and way broader than we think. However, it is up to us to make a daily choice to be in an unconditional love vibration. And the easiest way to do that is to put yourself at the service of this unconditional love. So if the knowledge that you create serves the highest good of unconditional love, it is good, useful knowledge. If it doesn't, it's possibly selfish or it's possibly elitist. So it's important that we start observing this. Your spirituality, the same thing. Are you spiritual because you want to feel good about yourself in comparison to other people? If you're comparing, you're already engaging in consciousness of separation. You're already disconnecting from the higher source of unconditional love. Do you develop your spirituality because your life must have more meaning? There must be something beyond the temporary reality of matter in the physical world. Yes, and it brings peace to the heart when we understand that the ultimate reality is not the temporary illusions that we live, right, in this physical world. But the source of life and the purpose of life and the ultimate goal of all existence is ever present in our hearts if we choose to connect to unconditional love, if we choose goodwill, if we choose to treat every single being in the planet with a loving heart. And that loving heart and the unconditional love that we all want to tap into must come hand in hand with the truth. It's not about leaving this world to live as a space cadet in another atmosphere. It is about being a grounded human being who wants to give the best to the world, to serve the world with a brilliant mind in an intellectual level, and with a beautiful light in the spiritual level, but in connection to other human beings, in connection to animals, plants, to all sentient beings, and to all existence. It's about connecting, not separating, not isolating. So people who develop their brilliant minds on the intellectual level, if they're living in isolation, that's not yet the goal of their lives. They have not yet reached their goal because they're disconnected from others. The same goes for spiritual people. Your spirituality is beautiful, and it is more beautiful when you share it with other people with a loving heart, not with a sense of superiority or a sense of separation or judgment. So our egos are the ones who create consciousness of separation. for a noble purpose in a human life, because we need to understand our individuality. This is part of the human experience. But our individuality must exist in connection with other individualities, not in separation and isolation. And intellectual minds can very easily disassociate and separate themselves from other people and disengage from unconditional love. So can spiritual people. It's very easy for very spiritual people to be trapped in the means of spirituality, which is just an instrument and a tool, and not really connecting to the ultimate goal of spirituality, which is to connect to unconditional love, an unconditional loving heart. So whenever a spiritual person feels superior to others, treats others badly, thinks that their faith is superior, that is total disengagement from unconditional love. That's consciousness of separation. For the intellectual people, they have an easier time engaging in separation and admitting to consciousness of separation. But it's important to say the truth here. Knowledge is useless if it's not serving unconditional love. Spirituality is useless if it's not serving unconditional love for all beings. It doesn't mean that we will be doormats to others. Remember, unconditional love is not a simple cartoonish character. It's just way deeper than we think. And a lot of people have a very distorted idea of love, in which if you love others, you become a doormat. I've heard this so many times. That comes from a wounded soul. So it's important to heal your soul and release those limiting beliefs and understand that unconditional love does not turn you into a doormat. Unconditional love brings you peace, freedom, and purpose. And when you connect unconditional love to the truth, and the truth is also an emanation of unconditional love, you will never be a doormat to anyone. You will create your healthy boundaries, and you will keep the purity of your unconditional love intact in your heart. The truth walks hand in hand with unconditional love. Knowledge connects us to the truth, but it must serve an unconditional love purpose. And spirituality connects us to the truth, but it also must serve an unconditional love purpose. And to do that, the easiest way to do it, and the only way to live in unconditional love, is to be kind to others with your words and with your thoughts, to release judgment, to release any thoughts of superiority, and to allow your knowledge and your spirituality to serve the highest good, and to always connect to unconditional love, so that you will be a much happier person, and you will also bring that loving light to the world and inspire other people to live in unconditional love as well. So this is what I wanted to share with you today. I hope it was clear. Thank you for subscribing to our channel if you haven't already. Make sure you do that. We love bringing new content to you. We're always doing this, and we feel so grateful when you contribute as well, when you like our videos, when you subscribe to our channel, and when you also spread the word and show this content to people you love and you believe will benefit from all of it. So thank you for being here, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.